Peter here, aka Peter Freakout 10, bringing you guys our episode of the Movie Review Show with the good movies are always reviewed. Okay, back into our movie reviews. Sorry, guys, this chair is wobbly for some reason. It's never been this wobbly, but yeah. But back again to our movie review today. And before I start, I just want to say, I know I promised you guys some Christmas movie reviews. I have a few up there that I really want to review. But this is a particular film that I wanted to review for the past couple of weeks. And then after that, I'm going to review this game, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Been wanting to review this for a while. I've been playing it a lot, nonstop. Even if after I've beaten the game, I'm coming back and playing it and beating some more of it. That's a review that's coming next. And then I'm going to get along to the Christmas movie reviews. I know I should have had those done already. Unfortunately, I've just been really busy with school. Homework's been a real pain in the butt. On top of that, today I had finals. And also I've been working a lot at my job. So it's really been hectic recently. And when I would come home, I'd be tired. And I've just been wanting to just sit down and watch TV or whatnot. So really sorry about that, but it is how the world is. But don't worry, we'll be decking the halls soon. So never fear, don't think I've forgotten about Christmas. But before we actually get into the Christmas movie reviews, I figure now's the perfect time to talk about another Steven Seagal film. Heck yeah. Now, I've already gone over his past 3 films, and for those who need a refresher, here it is. His introduction to film and his film debut, Above the Law, which was released in 1988, directed by Andrew Davis, who would later go on to direct Under Siege. I thought this film was great. I thought it was a great start to Steven Seagal. I like his accent in the film. I like the character. I like Pam Grier in the film. I thought she did a good job. You got 5 seconds. Kind of the smart alecky kind of cop. But I thought she did a good job. Sharon Stone I thought was good as the wife. Daniel Farladio, Henry Silva. All of them do great in this film. The action scenes are really well done. And I thought it was a great start for Seagal. Definitely a great way to introduce us to him. And the only problem I had with the film was at times the pacing was slow and, well, maybe a couple problems. The pacing and the fact that it focused too much on this political angle, which it didn't need to do. And I know I've gone on and on about that, but that was just something that I feel really slowed the film down for me, and I felt it really wasn't needed. Well, you could have done it, but it could have focused it on it a lot less, like sprinkle it out here and there, but not like how they did it here. Sorry about that, guys. Just had to turn something off, but yeah, it wasn't needed. But other than that, I still like the film. It has some great action scenes. Overall, really solid film debut. And then after that, he did another film, which I already talked about. If you guys want to see a full review on these, check out my video so far of Steven Seagal. Just type in my channel any of these films named so far. But so far, these are the films that I've seen. Before I actually get into today's film. Then he did Hard to Kill, which I think is another solid action film. I think it was another great step forward for Steven. And just overall, I like the fact that he's more of a family man this time. I like the opening scene with him and his son. I thought he was a likable guy in the film. His relationship with Kelly LeBrock, who was his wife at the time, I thought that was really well done in the film. William Sadler, this was when he was calling himself Bill Sadler for some reason. Frederick Coffin, I thought, did a good job. Bill Sadler, William Sadler, as I call him, is the villain in this film. Vernon, I thought he did a good job. The fight scenes are really stepped up a notch in this film from the first one, Above the Law. I love the part where he shoves that pool rod into the guy's mouth. I also like the ending quote, "Oh, Vernon, Vernon." That was awesome. Really like this film. Definitely great film. And then we have my favorite one so far, Marked for Death. I love this movie. I think it's one of my favorite action films of all time. Steven Seagal, I think this is where he's at his A game. I think he does a great job in this film. I think he portrays a really likable guy of John Hatcher. I really like the character himself. I like the attitude that he gives the character. The heartwarming scenes I thought were really well done. The scenes where he's reminiscing over his past life, I thought those were well done. This movie also has my favorite villain that Seagal's fought so far. Screwface, played by, what's that guy's name? Basil Palladores. Not Basil Palladores. Was it Basil Palladores? How could I forget that? Basil Wallace. That's who it is. I didn't even need to look it up. Basil Wallace. That's who it is. But he was fantastic in this film. I want you to meet my sister. God is so fire. I love the car that he has in this film. Keith David, I thought he was an awesome sidekick. Definitely my favorite sidekick so far that he's had. It's a freaking violent, brutal movie. Definitely my favorite Steven Seagal film so far. And definitely has my favorite fight scenes. And let me tell you, Screwface gets it hard in this film. And we love to see that. But now we're talking about his fourth outing. And what adventure has Steven Seagal got himself into this time? It's my word, sorry, but what adventure has he gotten himself into this time? This time, Steven Seagal is out for justice. He's a cop. I like this quote, by the way. He's a cop. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to take out the garbage. Yeah. That's an awesome quote. I think it describes this film perfectly. But for those wondering, Out for Justice was a film made back in 1991. And this is directed by a guy named John Flynn. Now, John Flynn, this is a guy who's best known for directing films such as Bestseller. He directed Lock-Up with Sylvester Stallone after this. Also had Tom Sizemore in it, one of the guys from Predator. Really want to see that film. He also did Brain Scan with Edward Furlong, which is another film that I really want to see. So, these has parts. But looking through the net, not much is known about this film. I had a hard time finding info about it. I'm unsure if the production started after Hard to Kill came to theaters or Mark for Debt was being made and he jumped back and forth between that film and this film. Because this is 1991 and both films before Hard to Kill and Marked for Death came out in 1990, so he probably must have been doing those around the same time as that. I haven't found anything on that. But the film itself had an extremely rough production cycle because John Flynn had a specific title he wanted to call the film, called The Price of Our Blood, but Warner Brothers wanted it to be 3 letters because Steven Seagal's other films were 3 letters, so they changed it to Out for Justice, which I agree with the studio, because I think it fits the thing better. I think it fits the film more, and I think it displays the film's title more. Well, I should say it displays the title more. That doesn't make any sense, but it really displays what the film is going for and the tone itself. So yeah, that was the biggest deal. That wasn't the biggest deal. There were some cuts that Warner Brothers made, which I'll get into later. And apparently, John Flynn hated working with Steven Seagal because he was causing a lot of delays. On top of that, they were trying to shoot in Brooklyn, but they got an IATSE strike. And for those wondering, IATSE stands for International Alliance of Two Theatrical Stage Employees, Moving Pictures, Technicians, Arts and Allied Crafts, ED, and they were forced back onto a plane to LA where they shot the rest of the film. I also uncovered some revealing information by one of the actors because Steven Seagal was harassing him about his accent, and during one of the fight scenes, Seagal actually damaged his front tooth, so I think that kind of hindered their relationship a little bit. And I also think around this time, a lot of hype was building up for this film because the box office returns Marked for Death had, I think, that had so many people hyped, and Warner Brothers, I think, got jealous of the returns 20th Century Fox had with Marked for Death, and they wanted a piece of the pie. And I sort of feel like even though Seagal's behavior was touched upon when Hard to Kill came out, because he was talking junk on Bruce Malmuth, here, though, it seems like, what I'm trying to say is, here, when they really go about his behavior, this is when it really starts to become noticeable. Because with this film, it just felt like they just sort of rubbed it off. Like, yeah, he did it, but it doesn't matter. You know, we got a great movie out of it, so let's be proud of that. Here, though, they were really hitting the nail on the head that he was hard to work with. And I think the film suffered because of that. Because when the film came out, it had a budget of $14 million, and it opened to $10 million in its opening weekend. And it was also the third Steven Seagal film to open to #1, and it stayed there for 2 weeks. And the box office came to a total of $39.67 million. So it was a pretty big return. However, it was short of Marked for Death's receipts. In fact, when you look at his other films, Above the Law, which made $18 million, Hard to Kill made $47.4 million, Marked for Death made $58 million, so it's still his highest grossing film at the time, and Out for Justice made $39.67 million. So it beat Above the Law, but it was behind, but it was #3 on the box office, so Marked for Death was #1, Hard to Kill was #2, and Out for Justice was #3, and Above the Law is #4 so far. So, really, it was really kind of a rough time for Seagal. But I think that same year, Van Damme would get the last laugh, because in August he put out Double Impact, and that outgrossed Marked for Death and all of Seagal's films combined, because that made like $80 million at the box office. So, yeah. Honestly, I knew this was going to happen, let's be honest, because look at what happened to Stallone in the 90s, even though I like a lot of his films in the 90s. He was huge at the age, but once Schwarzenegger started to get his bigger films, they weren't doing so well. And I like a lot, and again, I like a lot of his films in the 90s, so I don't care about the box office returns. What matters is if I like them. Along with the fact this wasn't a game breaker, it did receive some negative reviews, but a lot of people seem to say mixed reviews. It has a 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. However, audience were nicer to it. The audience, I should say. I forgot to ask, but so there's that. It seems to be getting a cult following, and some have gone on to say it's his best film. And in my opinion, I can understand why people love this film. I can understand why people hold this in high regard as his best film. However, to me, I really don't hold it high above Marked for Death. That being said, so far, I think this is his second best film. That doesn't mean I like it less than his others. When I do a list of my favorite films, I don't put one above the other saying like, oh, like, it made it at #3, #1, just because it's #1, that means it's better. I'm not that type of guy. I like all my films the same on a list, whether it's from an actor, in a specific genre. That's me. Milk, by the way, but yeah, that's just me. But this film is a prime example. It's not as great as Marked for Death. Marked for Death, so far, is my favorite, but so far, I still really love this film. I definitely think it's a great film, but I'll get into why later. But getting into the cast, of course, you got Steven Seagal playing Gino in this film, Gino Fileno. Along with some other actors, you have William Forsythe in this film, who was Flat Top in Dick Tracy. He was in Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo. He was also in The Rock. Anthony DeSanto, who I don't know anything about yet. Dan Inosanto, who was in Big Trouble in Little China. He was also in The Green Hornet. You also have Jerry Orbach in this film. And for those who don't know, Jerry Orbach was also in another Van Damme film. Well, I should say another because he doesn't work with Van Damme. But he was in a Van Damme film a year after, Universal Soldier. He was also on Law and Order. He was Lumiere in Beauty and the Beast. He was also in Aladdin and the King of Thieves. So definitely a good character actor. You have Joe Ciampa, who was in Monkey Trouble, and you have a young Juliana Margulies in this film from ER. She was also in Ghost Ship, which I still love. You have Gina Gershon, who is hot. Literally, I still find her hot, but yeah. From Showgirls, of course, she was in Face Off, which is, I like not as much as Broken Arrow, but I still like him. Joe Spataro's here, and John Leguizamo's in this film. A young John Leguizamo. He has a small role where he's this guy in an alley and he gets shot. But that's the cast. But yeah, I thought this was a fantastic film. I think critics were a little bit too harsh on it. And honestly, I think that critics were nicer to Above the Law because it had that whole message I keep mentioning in every single video. While Hard to Kill had that message of like government and the police that Marked for Death had. It really pushed it towards violence, and I think that's why kind of critics were a little bit harsher on that film. Marked for Death, I think, was a leap of faith, and a lot of critics liked it, so that's why. I think they did. I don't know who to trust, Wikipedia or Rotten Tomatoes, because Rotten Tomatoes doesn't usually have all the critics' positive reviews of their films, and they just focus on the negative ones. This one, I don't get, though. I really don't get the hate for this film, and I really don't. But yeah, I really enjoy this film, and I'll get into why later. But anyway, the basic plot of the film is basically this. Gino Faleno, played by Steven Seagal, is a cop working in Brooklyn with his partner Bobby, played by Joe Spataro. And the two share a loyalty for each other because they both grew up in the same neighborhood and have continued that loyalty into adulthood. In the same neighborhood, though, there was this kid named Richie, played by William Forsythe, who went in a completely different direction from where the two Gino and Bobby went to, because he took the life of a drug addict gangster who has no rules and will stop at nothing to get what he wants. And the plot kicks off at the beginning because Bobby is out with his wife and kids grocery shopping, and out of nowhere, Richie comes up and shoots him in front of his family. And when Gino gets the word, he's told by the chief, played by Jerry Orbach, who pretty much gives him free range to go and kill Bobby. And so with that free range, he decides he's going to use it to figure out why Bobby was killed in the first place. All the while, Richie is pretty much running this drug operation, starts terrorizing the locals because of his unlimited power. I got a sneeze. Alright, not that, but because of his unlimited power, he starts terrorizing the locals, starts killing people. And this power gets him kicked off the gang he was once a part of. And now everyone's out trying to set him down. So with his mouth and guns, Gino sets out to find answers on why Bobby was killed and what connection he had with Bobby. Will Gino get his answers and avenge his friend? Or will he be answerless and dead? But yeah, Out for Justice is a great film. And I feel it's another great outing for Seagal that gets him out of his comfort zone and pushes him forward into a zone that he was never in before, much in the way of how Marked for Death did it. However, I do have a couple of nitpicks. Not enough to ruin the film, but some I feel like they didn't have to do. But I'll start with the pros. What I like about the film: the story itself is really, really interesting because the movie itself touches upon the themes of loyalty, friendship, and even vengeance. And it's able to balance all of those elements in the film and handles the pain what it feels like, and the pain that courses through you when you're not there for your friend and he's killed, and you have taken this task to basically go and avenge your friend. And the solid writing really backs the feeling up of that really well. And it's handled maturely. And it's not over the top. It's not to the point of unbelievable. It's to the point of relatable. especially the anger that flows through you when you want vengeance among that person, I should say. And that is achieved because the writing is so strong. This is why Steven Seagal back then worked. Not the fatso that he is now. And John Flynn, who is a capable director, really understands that and really knows how to balance the tone, and even adds a little bit of like a street drama kind of feel to it, which is another component to why to a lot that has been added to Seagal's films, and I think he did it really, really well in this film. And he's able to bring in a lot of tension between Richie and Seagal, and it really works really well. Just even though there was tension between him and the guy on set, it's not easy. It's easy not to see that because the film is so well done that it's really just spectacularly unnoticeable, and that's what I love. So yeah, and I think the film is shot really well. However, I do have one little nitpick. Now, even though I have this film on VHS, and the VHS looks great, honestly, the film at times is really grainy in a few scenes, and this isn't because of the VHS tape. I know that because I looked up on the site someone who reviewed the DVD, and they noticed this film had some graininess in it too. Then again, I think they did that on purpose because it was added in because they really wanted to get the feel of the Brooklyn setting. That's just my assumption, because Brooklyn has a really washed out and run down kind of vibe to it. So at times it works, but at times it's really distracting, and it could have toned down the artsy angle in a few scenes, but that doesn't mean it ruins the film. For me, it really doesn't. It's just something I noticed. Other than that, John Flynn's direction is fantastic, and that is a little bit noticeable, especially with some of his films like Lock Up, which is like this whole kind of zapped out kind of color vibe to it. But it's not enough to hate the film. But moving on to the acting in this film is top-notch. Steven Seagal does another great job in this film. Once again, he pushes the morality level that he gave a lot of his characters in his other films further, because you learn that him and Bobby grew up in the same neighborhood together, and they've shared this bond that is continuing into adulthood. And when he finds out his best friend, who he's known for years, has been shot by this neighborhood bully, who the two have seen continue down this road, he wants nothing more than vengeance. And he delivers it really believably. Really believably. Like the scenes where you see him reminiscing with a few people about his childhood, and explains to the state that he grew up in, and you learn that Bobby was the only one who stood by him, and you feel sorry for the guy. You really feel sorry for the guy, what he goes through, what he went through as a child, and you really kind of get a sense that this guy is looking to redeem himself and really show that he's not willing to make any more mistakes. And there's a certain sense of likability to him in a lot of scenes, like the opening scene where you see him beating up this pimp who was beating up this woman. Did some guy get you pregnant? And the guy's like talking about how he's gonna rape his wife and kid, and he like literally beats this guy up and throws him into the like car, which I thought was a crazy part, but it was also hilarious too. But someone else brought this up. You actually see him laugh, which is something I haven't seen too much in a lot of his films. And I thought it worked really well, gives him more character and whatnot. It really gives the character a big heart in a lot of scenes. Just that laugh alone and him smiling. Just there's a certain sense of likability to him in this film. You see him smiling a lot more. And just the smiling, I think, makes his character more likable. And it isn't like him monotoning like he is now. So, overall, Steven Seagal, I thought, did a good job. I never hated the accent in this film. I never hated his accent. I thought it worked perfectly for the character. How he talks and whatnot, like his Brooklyn accent, I never ate that. I also like him in this hat right there. That hat I actually really like. And that also applies to the action scenes, because the action scenes really look like he's there. You could tell he did his stunts. If he didn't, it's not that noticeable. I think he spouts some great one-liners when he's fighting these scenes. Like the part where he goes to the bar and he actually shoots up like this to scare the guys. And the guy's like, "What are you doing? You could have killed someone upstairs." He's like, "There ain't nobody upstairs." Or the scene where he finishes the fight in the bar and he says, "Anybody seen Richie? I'm gonna keep coming back until somebody remembers seeing Richie." I always thought that was awesome. Scenes like that shows me he cares and that he can act. And it almost feels like he's forgotten what made these films so memorable. He's literally forgotten. So, yeah. Steven Seagal did a good job. Then you get the villain, played by William Forsythe, who I have to say is the biggest prick I have ever seen in any movie. Because not only at the beginning do you see him kill Bobby in front of his family, but immediately afterwards, when someone's honking their horn behind him, he gets out of the car, approaches the woman, and literally shoots her in the head. So this guy is a lost cause with no soul. And it's easy to see that throughout the film because you see him beating on people, killing them. He even kills a paraplegic in one scene, which is so messed up. He also attempts to rape a girl who was at Juliana Margulies' character's house, so that's messed up. It was a little girl, too, so yeah. But with that said, William Forsythe delivers a fantastic performance, giving us a villain who you love to hate. I love his appearance of this overweight guy, already looks like he's high on drugs with this cum-catcher mustache, who already carries a strikingly uneasy presence to the character. There are many scenes with him and Seagal. In fact, the only scenes between him are a quick scene and him at the end, the fight at the end. While most of the time is Gino explaining what happened to him in the past, and I'll explain more about that later. I have a lot to say about that, but you also get the idea that because of his freedom, he was granted that it turned his gang against him, and you get the idea that he abused his parents, and yet they still tried to defend him, and yet he still abused and manipulated them, and pretty much you really grow to hate him more. But yeah, I thought Richie was a good villain. Definitely one of the best villains Seagal's fought. I wouldn't say he's better than Screwface. Screwface is still number one, but yeah, I feel he's my second favorite villain. Other actors do their parts fine. They're just there for padding. In fact, with the trimming that Warner Brothers gave this film, it's really easy to see because the film really doesn't explore the other characters too much in this film. And the few scenes they are in the film are to contribute to the plot. So that is really noticeable with the film. But the others do fine. Jerry Orbach, I thought, did a good job as the chief. Joe Ciampa as his wife, who you find out the two are going through a divorce, and their chemistry is very limited. But you see them that they make up in the end. So the two do fine with what they have to do. Juliana Margulies in a young role as a woman who Richie likes. And I know she hated working with Seagal because she said how nosy he was and that he was pushy. But she was good. Not much to say about that, but, you know. Bobby and but yeah, their relationship is really paper thin. Bobby and Gino's, because Warner Bros. Was stupid idiots that wanted nothing more than big bucks than fine art. I really feel it could have benefited them, both Gino and Richie scenes together. I really feel they could have done more scenes and really kind of fleshed out like their childhood more. I really feel like they could have fleshed out like a little bit more scenes between the two. I thought that could have been done more because you just see him in one scene at the beginning and then he's dead the next scene. So yeah, but of course you gotta talk about the action scenes, and this is a friggin' violent film with some really gritty scenes. And again, the MPAA got hard on this film. Is it as violent as originally was, as some people have told me, but I cannot see it being any more violent than this. But the fight scenes are really well done. I love the part where he fights Dan in Santo in the bar with the pool rod and puts this pool ball in a sock or a sack and knocks his teeth out. Or the Mean House scene where he pins a guy by the hand with a meat cleaver by the wall. All look practical, all look great. Even the ending scene, he literally shoots a guy's foot off, and you see him screaming, "You shot my effing leg off!" That scene was so messed up. So yeah, this is a really violent film. Great practical effects, great action scenes, and looks splendid. Bon appetit. So if you're looking for some great action scenes, this is where to go. I also love the soundtrack to this film. You get a great song by the Beastie Boys. Go sleep till Brooklyn. Definitely like that song. My introduction to the Beastie Boys too. I also love the Shake the Firm during the montage. I thought that was a pretty cool song and really added to the scene. But yeah, the soundtrack I think really fits the film well and definitely adds to the tone of the film. But yeah, that's sadly where the compliments have to end to me, because I think with the cuts to this film, the film is really short on character development, and it really could have used a few more moments, because at times a lot of the characters feel paper thin in this film. That's why they need to do a director's cut of some of Steven Seagal's films. I think this film really needs the director's cut, but you know, they don't want to do it. I don't know why, but still, I really feel they could have done more scenes between the two. Even other characters, like not just Bobby and Gino's, but also Richie. Also, they could have done more with his wife. Gina Gershon, I think, could have gotten more, because she does a good job in the film. But yeah. But other problems I really have with the film, I also feel the film's final fight could have been a lot longer because Richie is killed really easily in this film. Even though they were building him up as this fearful figure, he kills him really easily. It probably would have been longer, but I think that was one of the cuts the studio made. But yeah. I think the grainy filter could have been toned down a bit. That's really a nitpick, but yeah. But I may come off like I hate this film, but I don't. I love it. In fact, I just spent the whole video praising it. I may not love it. It may not be might not be my all-time favorite like Mark for Death is, but it's an action-packed roller coaster with a great amount of morality to it, and it ends better than Mark for Death, which just stops at the end with questions unanswered. This actually has questions answered, but I think Warner Brothers was stupid for cutting the film into bits, and because of that, the film really suffers a lot. But other than that, I still think Out for Justice is another great Seagal romp that anybody should check out. If you're willing to look past how butchered this film was, you're really going to enjoy it. So, yeah, I highly recommend you check out for Justice. Another great addition to the Steven Seagal library. So, come down to the final rating of a 9.2 out of 10. And it deserves it. It therefore gets the seal of approval. Heck yeah. So, yeah. Really, really enjoyed this film. Definitely thought it was a great film. Definitely one to check out if you're looking to continue the Seagal adventures. So, yeah, definitely check that out. But that's my review on Out for Justice. And next time, as I promised you guys, I'm going to do a review of Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Gonna get that game reviewed. And then to start off, Dick in the Halls with some Christmas films. I have a review of Black Christmas coming. Really excited to review that. Lethal Weapon, Rocky, I plan to review Rocky 1, 2, and 3, and Rambo, and Money Train. Those are some films I really can't wait to review. But yeah, gonna get to those later, but anyway. I'll see you guys later. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of Out for Justice. Did you guys like it? Is this your favorite Seagal film? Which is your favorite Seagal film? Tell me in the comments below. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time. Bye.